Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Nice to see everybody. My name is Jacob Davidson, and I am from North Texas. This is the Legal Layman Show, where I try to learn the law and explain a little bit about what I have learned. Sorry for the minor delay. I had to go close a window to make sure that no one from outside could be heard on the mic. Gotta pop that chat out. Okay. Rats right next to it. Alright, so probably no stream tomorrow. Well, definitely no stream tomorrow. I think I'm going to have Thursdays as my day off from streaming so I can rest a little bit. I want to have a second day off where all I do is edit videos. Yeah. Edit videos, do stuff in the background, something to improve the show or just, unwind from the week. Other than that, probably not a whole lot, just, very tired looking. And I'll hopefully maintain some level of quality for the show. Oh shit. There we go. So thank you for everybody who comes to watch. I hope to see you during the rest of the show. So I'll see more of you guys for the show. So the topic today that I'm going to do starts off with Fort Worth, Texas. Oh, lovable, fun, fancy Fort Worth. Fort Worth, Texas is one of the better places to be. Shit. I'm looking for extra stories right now. Seems a lot of flooding is happening. Provost leader. Man, I do not want to be any of the Proud Boys right now. That's an interesting story. All right. We'll get to this if there's nothing else. All right, so sorry for the delays. Sorry that it's only been my face for a while. Sorry. So, the topics are Fort Worth and Antifa, bump stock, some bump stock bans, not going very far. Uh, like 2 articles on the Trump charges, and I plan on covering a little bit more outside of that. So hopefully we'll get there. I need very quickly to eat something though, because I have not eaten since like 24 hours ago, I think. Except for a little protein bar, one of these things. So I'm gonna go eat that. But also, some tea. Should have eaten this before. Counted in my calorie tracker as well. It's pretty good though. I'll just put up the Be Right Back screen. Probably a really bad move to do right as I started a stream, but I was really hungry and I wouldn't last without it, so I did it. Hopefully it didn't take too much time. If it did, I sincerely apologize. I also need to go back through every stream and relink the proper locals account that I have, because they are not the right link. It's like laymanlaw.locals.com, not legallayman.com. But yes, let's go through the topics. I am excited to present these topics today, especially this first one. This one's close to my home. Not literally, but it's like if I went into the city area, it's where I'd go. Going to unmute this tab. Alright, let's get right into it. Wait. Here we are. Wait for... Alright, 3 people, 2 with umbrellas, 1 with a weird stick. So these 5 right here are the only people to show up to protest against the drag show. So these 5, and then a counter protest of 3 or so. Look at these finely dressed gentlemen. Man, he is not affected. He does not give a shit. But yeah, this little fucking cunt right here decides to pepper spray just about everybody that is right there. For no reason, no good reason in particular. Oh, and then they come with guns. So they come with pepper spray and guns. How fancy. And then he walks away. Arrestee number 1.
He's right here. Hey, bud, you come with me real quick? No. Yeah. He's gonna come with us. He's right here. Heads up. Hey, you need to come with us, bud. I'm not doing anything. We're gonna go get him.
Look at all of these bastards.
Hey, stop. Hey, you take off running, you're gonna get charged with that.
Alright, arrestee number 2.
What are you doing?
Wait, real quick. Something I saw. She's got cat ears on her helmet. This is, I think, one of the chicks that they arrested. She's got cat ears on her helmet.
Bring the units over here. I got help. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. I got the arm, dude. I got it. Do not reach for that gun. You will get shot if you reach for that gun.
Oh, please, please, I wish. I really wish.
Let go. Let go. Get up.
Oh yeah, by the way, no one gets shot in this video, unfortunately. No Antifa gets shot, but, you know, they get to struggle and put them on the ground for many minutes. You don't get to pepper spray somebody and then cry for help like that. You don't get to unwarrantingly harm someone and then bitch about getting fucked like this.
Get the pistol. Get the pistol. Pistol. Stand up. Stand up. Help! 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 Mark unit one. Mark unit one. Frank, over here. That's you. Out the crowd.
I really wish one of them would have hit him in the face with a baton.
Yeah, we got him. Frank.
Who is that?
He's asking for help and there's
No, fine. We will take care of it later. Back up.
What does he need a medic
Back up.
What does he need a medic
Back
for?
up.
What does he
Back
need a
up.
medic for?
Back up.
He's falling for a medic.
You're under arrest.
What does he need a medic for? What does he need a medic for?
Arrestee number 3. Alright, assault Samuel Folks, 21 years old. Or 20 years old. Assault bodily injury, number 4. Evading arrest, detention, resisting arrest, assault on a police officer. Assault on a police officer, interference with public duties. Number 2 was a guy? They're 3 years old. And Megan oh god. She is ugly. Interference with public duties, resisting arrest. This is the face of somebody that is willing to pepper spray you just for a slight. This motherfucker right here decided, I want to pepper spray people. No reason. No good reason in this situation, anyway. The hidden replies. Fuck pigs. They're fucking pigs for fight for Black lives. They get torn apart. Dumbass, dude. New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and all these woke cities take a lesson on how. Well, at least they're not. I think they're just trying to keep it clean. Oh, fuck. I love this video. I am frustrated that they just got away. They didn't get away with the pepper spraying. That much is clear. Here's the part 2 of the report. On April 23, 2023, a small group from Protect Texas kids arrived at Fort Worth Brewery and Pizza to stage a protest across the street from the location during a scheduled drag show event. A group of counter-protesters also arrived at the location and stood in front of the business. The counter-protesters were dressed in black, wearing helmets and outer tactical vests, and many of them were armed with handguns and long guns. Members of the Fort Worth Police Department monitored both groups via a city camera at approximately 12:50 p.m. Officers observed a member of the counter-protest group, later identified as 20-year-old Samuel Folks, approach the Protect Texas Kids protesters and spray them with pepper spray. When Fort Worth PD officers attempted to arrest Folks for this assault, Folks began to evade officers and then swung his closed fists at officers who tried to stop him. While the officers were attempting to place Folks into arrest, another member of the counter-protest group, later identified as 33-year-old Christopher Gullett, I'm gonna call him Gullet. I know it's not spelled that way, but yeah. Interfered with the officers' efforts by swinging an umbrella at an officer. Gullet struck an officer in the face and was then placed under arrest. As Folks and Gullet continued to resist arrest, members of the Fort Worth PD directed response unit were called to the scene to help the officer in order to create a safe arrest environment for Folks and Gullet and the arresting officers. Officers directed the group of counter-protesters to the sidewalk. It was during this time that a third counter-protester, later identified as 37-year-old Megan Grant, attempted to charge past Fort Worth PD officers multiple times to gain access to Folks and Gullet. Fort Worth Police Department officer attempted to stop Grant by pushing her back towards the sideline or sidewalk. However, Grant did not comply and was taken into custody. Fort Worth Police Department respects everyone's constitutional right to free speech and assembly. Our main goal during any protest event is to provide a safe environment and respect all participants' constitutional right while effectively maintaining peace and order. However, those who choose to violate the law and assault others will be arrested and charged. Below is the information about the arrest suspects and their charges. I love justice. I have to say, good job for being so professional with that Antifa group yelling and trying to help folks escape or resist arrest. Use the absolute minimum force. Yep, that's basically that's the case. They're not all perfect, obviously, but you know. They fucked around and they found out a little bit. It puts a smile on my face that Antifa shows up in Fort Worth and immediately gets fucked for it. Don't fuck with my city. Please. It's just a courtesy to you to not do it. Elm Fort John Brown Gun Club. Are you serious? Elm Fort John Brown Gun Club. Elm Fort. Get bent. Oh god, they had so many replies. Oh, I'm so glad I scrolled past that. Holy shit. You mean the same? Assaulted some innocent people and resisted arrest? Those same community members? My friend was released from Summit County Jail. I have no. Man, what a joke. Hey Seamus, how you doing? I'm just covering the funny Fort Worth Antifa fight that happened. I am spectacularly amused by it. Antifa comes into my area, gets fucked right away. The fascists can't catch a break. Moving on from... So I made a mistake while going through the video. So this is Samuel Folks. This is the guy who pepper sprayed a bunch of people that protested. Oh, okay. The dude who helped resist arrest, Seamus, had cat ears on his helmet. I thought he was a girl for a moment. Damn it. In other news, because I gotta move on from the Fort Worth one at some point. Another appeals court rules against U.S. ban on gun bump stocks. Judges rule statute on machine guns is ambiguous. Courts join Fifth Circuit on striking down ban as the administration appeals to Supreme Court. A second federal appeals court has struck down a nationwide ban on so-called bump stocks, devices that allow semi-automatic weapons to be rapid-fire multiple rounds like a machine gun. Like a machine gun, but the main distinction is you still have to pull the trigger. Well, not like a machine gun. In part like and in part not like. Hey, can't say I just popped in to give a like. Hey, thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate it much. A 3-judge panel of the United States Sixth United States Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, Ohio, on Tuesday sided with a Kentucky man who had sued to challenge the rule in 2019. The court said that the Bureau of ATF went beyond its legal authority when it banned the devices by classifying them as machine gun parts in 2017. The New Orleans-based Fifth Circuit already struck down the ban in a separate case in January. President Joe Biden's administration has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear its appeal of the decision, saying it threatens significant harm to public safety. I don't think this argument works anymore. You see, under the historic traditions aspect of all new gun regulations or new gun precedent, saying it threatens significant harm to public safety is not a winning argument. We're happy with the decision and hope that the ATF recognizes its duty to abide by the law as written, instead of unilaterally replacing statutory definitions with agency-created definitions, which wrongfully criminalize illegal conduct, said Alan Cobb, a lawyer for the plaintiff, Louisville anesthesiologist Scott Harden. ATF declined to comment because, of course, the little bitches in bureaucracy would refuse to comment. The ban was enacted under former President Donald Trump in response to the deadly mass shooting in Las Vegas, in which the shooter used guns equipped with bump stocks to kill 58 people and wound hundreds more. This is probably one of the handful of gaffes on the president's part on Trump. It's kind of one of the things I do not like about the guy. This little thing right here. The ban was enacted. Right. Bump stock uses a semi-automatics recoil to allow it to slide backwards and forwards while bumping the shooter's trigger finger and resulting in rapid fire. ATF determined in 2017 that the devices which had previously been allowed were machine guns under the National Firearms Act of 1934. Federal laws prohibit the sale or possession of machine guns, punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Harden claimed in his lawsuit that the rule went beyond the ATF's authority. U.S. District Judge David Hale disagreed, ruling in favor of the agency. Judge Hale needs to get strung up on a lamppost as a silhouette. Sixth Circuit Judge Ronald Lee Gilman wrote Tuesday that 1934 law must be interpreted according to the rule of lenity, which requires ambiguity in a criminal statute to be resolved in the criminal defendant's favor. I like this judge. This judge needs to get a hug and some cookies. Because the relevant statutory scheme does not clearly and unambiguously prohibit bump stocks, we are bound to construe the statute in Harden's favor, the judge wrote. Because the relevant statutory scheme... Alright, I already read that. Fuck. Circuit Judge David McCago... yeah, sure. Joined the opinion. Circuit Judge John Bush wrote in a separate concurring opinion that the federal law was not ambiguous and clearly did not cover bump stocks. Oh, I really like these ones. The case is Harden versus Bureau of ATF, and it's all Sixth Circuit Appeals, Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. For Harden, Jason Harden of the Harden Law Group and Alan Cobb of Cobb Group. For the government, Brad Hinchelwood of the U.S. Department of Justice. Biden appeals ruling against ban on gun bump stocks. He can try as much as he likes, but he's probably going to face a couple if he keeps trying to fight our rights. Republican debt ceiling bill takes step forward in House. Disney sues Florida Governor DeSantis over state's efforts to control Disney World. How's that going to work? I kind of want to get legal mindset on so you can help explain it to me personally. That would be fucking cool as shit if I get mindset on my show. So bump stock bans are not good, or rather not constitutional or accepted by any of the judges. God, they seem so cool though. A little inconvenient if you want to go for like an adjustable one. I think this is an adjustable one. No, it doesn't look like it. Man, fuck the Biden administration so much. Why can't we just own guns? Manhattan prosecutor asked judge to limit Trump's ability to publicize information about his criminal case. This is a CNN document, or a report. Prosecutor with Manhattan District Attorney's Office has asked the judge overseeing the Donald Trump criminal case to impose a protective order restraining the former president's ability to publicize information about the investigation. Of course he is. Of course he wants to hide it. In a motion, prosecutors told the judge that Trump's team would not consent to a protective order. The risk of this defendant will use the covered materials inappropriately is substantial. Defendant has a long history of discussing his legal matters publicly, including by targeting witnesses, jurors, investigators, prosecutors, and judges with harassing, embarrassing, and threatening statements on social media in other public forums, and he has already done so in this case. Hey Danielle, I'm doing alright. You know, just getting at it, getting on it. Hopefully I have enough energy today. I didn't get very much sleep, but I had to get cleaned. So I'm at it. I think I'll do my 3-hour show like I typically intend on doing. Started off a little bit late, I think a little on time. A minute late, I believe. I hope you're doing well, Danielle. But I want to go ahead and say this, you know, despite all the nice greetings and saying hi. Is the prosecutor complaining about the defendant's First Amendment right being practiced? On social media? So the prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, in this case, is complaining to a judge that a person being criminally charged might complain or talk about the fact that they're being criminally charged, and the fact that, I don't know, the particular charges in which they are being, you know, indicted under. He wants to hide it so much that he's going to complain to the judge that the person who has their rights, who should have their rights most upheld in this situation, is going to, I don't know, exercise their rights in some way. This is a media personality right here. Bragg is so fucking retarded. So not only is he wanting to hide the charges from the public, and I guess he has that ability as a power from the government. I don't want to say he has that right. It's not a right, it's a power. Thank you, Ghazni, for that distinction. But he's worried that a person will talk about things. It's essentially a First Amendment right violation. I cannot stress that enough. It frustrates me. Manhattan prosecutors have accused Trump of falsifying business records with the intent to conceal illegal conduct connected to his allegedly connected to his 2016 presidential campaign. The criminal charges stem from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's investigation into hush money payments during the 2016 campaign to women who complained they had extramarital affairs with Trump, which he denies. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Manhattan's prosecutors have accused Trump of falsifying... Fuck. I keep doing that. It's my bad. In seeking the protective order, prosecutors cited some of Trump's past attacks on witnesses who previously spoke out against him, including his former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, and Alexander Vindman, a former national security official who testified publicly during Trump's first impeachment. I mean, I would too if I got stabbed in the back. But I didn't actually look too much into that. Was that just basically he was targeted through a tweet? If it was a tweet, I'm gonna fucking laugh. What's it here? Tweet. Okay, not so much. They asked the judge to order that Trump only be allowed to view certain materials turned over by the prosecutor or prosecutors in the presence of his defense counsel and not allow him to copy materials designated as limited dissemination materials. Specifically, they asked the judge to instruct anyone who receives materials, including grand jury testimony, to not post them on any news organizations or social media websites without approval from the judge. They also asked the judge to limit the use of any materials that it provide to Trump to defending the present case. As at the outset, it is important to note that the people are not at this time seeking a gag order in this case. The defendant has a constitutional right to speak publicly about this case, and the people do not seek to infringe upon that right, prosecutors wrote. Prosecutor also asked the judge to limit the review of images of 2 cell phones related to a witness in the case to Trump's defense lawyers, saying they are highly personal information, including the phones. In addition to limiting the disclosure of certain information, prosecutors turn over to Trump In addition to limiting the disclosure of certain information, prosecutors turn over to Trump from becoming public. They also asked the judge to limit the disclosure of identifying information about any support staff working for the prosecution team to the public until jury selection begins in the case. They cited Trump's past statements about Bragg and the judgment in the case. I never thought I'd be the one calling this out. We don't want to deprive this person's right, the constitutional right to speak publicly. But if you want to just allow us to gag their speech, yeah, please, thank you, judge. That'd be really nice. What a fucking joke. We don't want to limit the president's speech or the former president's speech. We want to, we just want to protect ourselves. And by doing so, we'll limit the former president's speech significantly. No foul play here. No constitutional rights being violated. So great. I love it. I love it when the state lies openly to courts and the people. It makes me feel so comfortable that the court, the prosecution would be so comfortable in asking that he gag the First Amendment aspects of a person that he's accused of committing a crime, and reducing the publicization of those potential crimes. It's great. Why did you charge Trump, Alvin Bragg? What is the particular criminal act that he possibly committed? What was the criminal conduct being hidden? All right. So now that, oh wow, the amount of stories I picked were not very long. But luckily, I came with backup. Alex Murdaugh. I should probably edit these tags so that way they include everything else. I'll do that later. Alex Murdaugh, charged with 2 counts of tax evasion. Alex Murdaugh, the former South Carolina lawyer who was in jail for life for the alleged killing of his son and wife in 2021, I still don't believe he killed them, was charged with 2 counts of tax evasion by the state grand jury. Murdaugh, 54, was found guilty in the shooting death of his wife and son after a high-profile trial concluded last month. The grand jury charged Murdaugh with 2 counts of tax evasion, a court filing shows. He faces about 100 other charges. The charges range from claims of more tax evasion, accusations he stole money from clients as a lawyer and ran a drug and money laundering operation. He also is accused of life insurance fraud, scheming to have his friends kill him, and having a life insurance policy pay $10 million. The 2 latest charges filed against Murdaugh come from his 2020 and 2021 tax returns, which prosecutors say show Murdaugh did not pay more than $130,000 in taxes that he was supposed to over the 2 years. Murdaugh's trial made national headlines, and the case of the killing of his 52-year-old wife Maggie and 22-year-old son Paul was at the center of hit Netflix documentary Murdaugh Murders: A Southern Scandal, which probably heavily misrepresented the entire case and should not be watched. My mom watched that and seems to believe that Murdaugh did it, but it's like the logical jumps that you would need to make in the trial. At trial, in which prosecutors argue Murdaugh killed his family due to cascading financial issues and then cleaned up the scene, Murdaugh denied the allegations. He was convicted in the killings and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is appealing the convictions. A trial for all the pending charges has yet to be set. I hope he wins the appeal on the murder charges. He probably should go away on the tax fraud and whatnot, but, you know. No, I don't think he should. This is not proper. Even if he did do it. I'm not a big fan of taxes, not gonna lie. I would not blame him for it. Oh yeah, real quick. I know this is gonna be a little weird tangent. I have a lovable grandma, and she is in a particular leaning of politics, and so I need to find one of the articles I read the other day about the security leaks. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. I forgot to read something in a particular way. Before anybody goes in the chat, maybe does a little based grandmother, I need to do this one. Okay, there we go. Grandma, this is for you. The trove of classified documents alleged leaked online by Jack Teixeira on an airman with Massachusetts Air National Guard has provided fuel to opponents and continued U.S. support for the country and its fight against Russia. Representative Marjorie Trader Green, a fierce critic of the supporting Ukraine military, drew widespread criticism after she tweeted that Teixeira was being unfairly treated by the Biden administration and had rightly exposed information about the Ukraine war and American forces in the country. That was for my grandma. She hates Marjorie Taylor Greene. So she made a request when I mentioned that I was doing this streaming stuff to say Marjorie Trader Green. And I remembered it yesterday, but I forgot it right away after we finished the article. So I came back just to fulfill her request. Oh, that is fantastic. Oh. Hold on. Yeah. Oh. I tell my grandma she's kind of fucking stupid. I don't get the hate for Taylor Greene. I don't get the entire hate. I get that she was stupid for her approach with the kiwi farms being basically used as a weaponized idiot. Oh, hot. So hot. However, I did not expect her to... Well, I kind of expected it. She's not a very pro-Republican kind of gal, despite being Christian and conservative in many ways. I think she just hates the party right now and what she thinks it represents. I don't know. I don't hate her for it. I find it kind of endearing that she hates the Republican Party so much. And that she requested that I call Marjorie Taylor Greene Trader Green. So I came back just to do that. I couldn't help it. And as I was doing it, I realized it was really funny. No, I didn't call her stupid. I didn't call my grandmother stupid. No, she's not dumb. Did I call her? No. What was my exact quote? No, I didn't. No, she was calling Taylor. No, Taylor Greene. Taylor Greene is stupid. My grandma is fine. I love her. Sorry if that got crossed up. That's not what I mean. My grandma's fine. Taylor Greene is the idiot. Oh. Hold on. Oh no, my kettle. No. Oh, sorry, Seamus. I got lost in the laugh about it. My grandma, I love her. She's great. I don't let the political divide get between us. I try not to anyway. My grandfather is more for like talking politics, so but I try to avoid it because it's not very I'd rather not argue with my grandparents, who I presume will not last too much longer in this world because, I don't know, everything's working against them in some way, shape, or form, so I'd rather not. But man. Oh, I had such a strong laugh to that. I didn't expect it. I gotta go thank her. After this is over, I'm gonna go thank her for it and say it was worth calling Marjorie Taylor Greene Marjorie Trader Greene. I didn't realize I found it so fucking funny. Alright. I got a handful of stories left. They might last a little long. But before we do that, let's cover this. One thing. A shill. A grift. And what is it? It's thedragonstreasure.com. I was really hoping it would have loaded by now. That is embarrassing. I'm just gonna hit that. Yep, dragonstreasure.com, a haven for anime and tea lovers. And I bring to you a special deal. With code Layman at checkout, you can get 10% off of every purchase on this site. You can get tea, you can get teaware, you can get merchandise. Herbs and spices. He offers herbs and spices. Spearmint tea, peppermint tea, hibiscus, cocoa nibs inclusion, all these things. Lavenders. Members only, though. You have to be a member. And here's a fancy idea. Get the smallest membership, the Wyvern membership, so you can buy these teas, $5, and then use my code for 10% off. It's well worth it. I've been drinking Iroh's Legacy. I kind of ran out of it, so I've been kind of reusing it day in and day out, which might not sound very good, but it heats it up and then pours it back out. So it's not the worst, but I prefer making fresh tea. I'm probably not getting the most out of the tea, considering I think it's only good for like 2 refills at this scale. You used to be able to rebrew the tea a bunch of times, depending on what kind of tea it was. I don't think it works so well when you scale it up and you pour a bunch of water through it. However, I try it and it's not bad. All the tea here is very good. I've been enjoying it. I'm waiting for them to deliver my new package. I got the new tins, which are these things right here. Hopefully they'll come in today or tomorrow, and I'll be able to enjoy them. I'll do all the sample packs on live, as to not. That's it. So I can show off the flavor or show off my enjoyment of it, because every new one's a new experience. I enjoy it significantly. The tea is very good. He sells all these kettles and strainers, and I've been very much appreciative of the experience of enjoying his tea. It's all very good. And remember, code Layman at checkout of the Dragon's Treasure for 10% off of all purchases. Hold up, I see something in the... funny post, I guess. Hold up, I'm gonna repost the stream link to the chats. Okay, repost. There we go. So now that I've done the first 3 topics, and I indulged my grandmother in Marjorie Trader Green, that might be my running joke. Let's get into some funnier shit. 2 TSA agents hospitalized and 3 injured after being assaulted by a woman at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. I really want to ask how. Hold up real quick. I gotta do something. Camera. How to close that. Yeah, please never show that. Stop seeing this ad. Ad cover content. See this mental ad. Ad was inappropriate. Not interested in this ad. Huh. Alright, back to it. 2 TSA agents hospitalized, 3 injured after being assaulted by a woman at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. A woman allegedly attacked 3 Transportation Security Administration officers at a Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport on Tuesday, officials said. The 19-year-old woman was going through a screening process at Checkpoint D in Terminal 4 of an airport when the alleged assault took place just before 6 a.m., according to ABC 15. 3 officers were hurt in the scuffle and Checkpoint was temporarily closed. Phoenix police responded and arrested the woman. It's not clear what sparked the altercation. The 2 TSA officers were hospitalized as a result of the incident and has since been released. The suspect's name and identifies the 2 officers were not released. The unprovoked and brazen physical attack against our employee is unacceptable. We are grateful for our committed workforce and for the role they play in protecting the traveling public every day, TSA told ABC 15 in a statement. How? I have to ask, how? How did TSA get fucked up by one 19-year-old girl? I gotta see this lady. Alright, so let's run some predictions, maybe. I presume Southern Anarchist, Mr. Poopy Butthole, 69. He's not the 68th iteration. He's not the 67th iteration. He's not even the first iteration. He is the 69th iteration of being a Mr. Poopy Butthole. Pocket sand. You saying pocket sand makes me think you're, Dale. And so I can see you wearing a tinfoil hat. Thank you. I have that image in my head now. Hold up, I see something in the chat. Holy shit, what the hell? Got auto suspended from Twitter for mocking COD in Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. Yikes. I have a prediction that this 19-year-old girl was not just a 19-year-old girl. How do I make this video go away? She was a 19-year-old black woman who felt mildly offended, maybe, probably about some weave, and decided she chose violence at that moment. I'm split between mocking a potential black woman for being overwhelmingly violent for no reason, but knowing white girls, that's also likely that she did it. But on the scale of attack power, black women have an advantage. Because white women don't pack much of a punch. Or white women, yeah. But black women have been fighting for so long, they have a natural advantage even against black men. Or at least the black men that they raise alone. Oh wait, you think pocket sand is how she did it? Was that the interpretation that I should have taken? So if you think about it in a fighter's perspective, or stats, a black woman's got like 9 allure and pretty, and like 2 in strength to fist fight. You ever heard of Valentina Shevchenko? I will look that up in a moment. And in a moment, I mean right now, but on a separate browser. Oh, mixed martial artist, former Muay Thai fighter. She was a Thai fighter. I'm having lots of fun. Let's go back here. That's a bad white woman. Well, I don't think your average white woman is Valentina Shevchenko. So on the scale of balance, white women are pretty, have 9 prettiness or allure, but like 2 strength, and black women have like 2 strength but or 2 pretty and allure with 9 strength. So these guys must have been like completely overwhelmed by this one lady. Either so there's two ways that this lady could have turned out. She was really fat but really strong in her punches, or she was really skinny but quick and effective and fierce. Shepherds are violent. A fat German Shepherd is better than a skinny German Shepherd because at least the fat one can be pacified by a cheeseburger. The skinny one wants reparations, whatever that reparations may be. I'm in the same area as an ANTIFA, a violent ANTIFA group making fun of black people in a way. And they're still out there, and if they ever found this video, they would probably find me and try to make trouble for me. And I just... ah, fuck. Man, this is just great. I love this. But yeah, I need to go remember to go thank my grandmother. All right, so that was that for the TSA thing. I just wanted to have a little laugh because I thought it would be a little funny that 2 TSA agents were hospitalized by a woman, a singular woman. Could you imagine it turned out that the person that went into a fist fight with these people was in fact someone like Valentina? Would have been just life's too funny. I'm so glad these chats are not preserved, or at least the Rumble. I actually don't mind that it's preserved, but it's like, man, that would get me in trouble on YouTube. I'm so glad. Oh. Livingston County leaders take aim at red flag gun laws, vote to become constitutional county. Hell yeah! Let's go, Livingston County. Livingston County, Michigan, I believe is that. Yep. Republican leaders in Livingston County are vowing not to put any public resources behind enforcing restrictions on firearm ownership, declaring themselves a constitutional county, as Michigan Democrats advance statewide gun safety reforms in the wake of mass shootings. They should call these Second Amendment violation reforms. The county's all-GOP board unanimously passed a resolution on Monday defining the county as a place of refuge for the law-abiding citizen. You see the shit Minnesota's doing? Link next locals. Let me refresh that page real quick. Create a misinformation and hate speech. Oh. Breaking a This Livingston County one's gonna take a little bit. Maybe. Breaking. This is breaking as of like 4 hours ago. I'm a little late on the news. A transgender representative in Minnesota has introduced a bill that removes the exclusion of pedophiles from the protected class of sexual orientation. This means it'll be exclusion of. Okay, this means it'll be illegal to discriminate against child rapists. This is what we have been sounding the alarms on. There is a concerted effort to normalize the sexualization of children and legalize pedophilia. This is one more step towards that end goal. We need everyone to join in this fight before it's too late. Do not do that, Southern anarchist. You rat bastard. I drink the tea. Do not fucking go after me like that. Do not make my tea drinking sound gay. Now maps to walls. Yeah, they're apparently rebranding and calling themselves YAPs, Youth Attracted Persons. I'll show that later. Actually, right now, because the person who put it up showed it. Alright, so the bill for an act. Okay, it'll remove. Be it enacted by legislature. Subdivision 50, gender identity. Gender identity means a person's inherent sense of being a man, woman, both or neither. A person's gender identity may or not be corresponded to their assigned sex at birth or at their primary or secondary sex characteristics. A person's gender identity is not necessarily visible to others. Don't know how I got 45 minutes behind. Well, you know, it's what happens. I think my YouTube link is a little weird and wonky like that. It will put you behind. Sexual orientation means having or being perceived as having an emotional, physical, or sexual attachment to another person without regard to the sex of that person, or being perceived as having an orientation for such attachment. Or being perceived as having a self-image or identity not traditional associated with one's biological maleness or femaleness. Sexual orientation does not include a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult. Oh. Well, not to invoke the call of presumed Neanderthals. No, capitalize it. My bad. Yeah, the whole sexual attraction to. Now, stricken was right. Stricken and struck. It was stricken. We struck it, or it was stricken. It's proper. Those that don't represent us in government, that want to do as they please, are typically met with using them as the waters for the tree of liberty. And a swinging silhouette. I probably spelled that wrong. One L, okay. Swinging silhouette from a lamppost. The most artsy way of saying something like that. Alright, so back to the Camelot thing. I love this guy, he's great. Yeah, happy Alice Day. Those who celebrate, I figured why not use today to unveil the YAP pride flag I designed almost a year ago. I want to stray from the often used horizontal bars motif, but only a little, and I wanted to retain some familiarity. Ah, well. Hell yeah. Ricada is in the chat, on the locals chat, so that's great. Oh wait, I don't need to sip on it anymore. The heat's gone. Oh no, that's just staining. What later? What later? What's up? Back to the back to the Livingston County thing, because you know that's worth a read. So the county's all GOP board unanimously make a place of refugee for a law-abiding citizen when it comes to the rights provided by the federal and state constitution, including the Second Amendment. Commissioners take aim at red flag laws awaiting Governor Gretchen Whitmer's signature that would temporarily remove firearms from Michiganders who could be in danger of hurting themselves or others. Who are accused of being in danger of hurting themselves or others. They represent a certain impunity of our rights, Livingston County Commissioner Martin Smith said on Monday. They aim to end mass shootings the aim to end mass shootings is a virtuous one, he acknowledged. But these are good intentions that became bricks, and these bricks paved roads, and that leads to tyranny. What a great line. I like this guy. But these are good intentions that become bricks, and these bricks pave a road, and that leads to tyranny. Yes! Someone who sees logic and reason in the world. Smith said the resolution states the county board will not authorize any new funding or use of public resources for the sole purpose of enforcing any law or regulation that affects gun ownership rights provided by the Second Amendment and Michigan's Constitution, or supporting any state or federal agency restricting those rights. Livingston County Sheriff Mike Murphy has said publicly he would not enforce the red flag laws, outlining why he believes they are unconstitutional in a recent Facebook video. I'm gonna watch that. Do I have my sound on still? I do have a sound on still. Alright, let's go! Let's hear it from him rather than the article. That's an unfortunate pause face. I don't want to do that guy that way.
Hey everybody, Livingston County Sheriff Mike Murphy here. I just want to take a minute and talk about red flag laws. There's been a lot of conversation about this, which I think is good, but there's also been a lot of misinformation out there as well. And as much as I love the media, they've got limited time slots and they kind of pick and choose what information gets out there. So if you would indulge me for a couple minutes, I'd be happy to go through and explain my position on these red flag laws and why I believe they're unconstitutional. I would also encourage you to do your own reading. Go to the Michigan legislature and look up Senate Bill 0083. That's what I'm going to read some excerpts from today so you can see for yourself. So listen, I want to first start by saying I'm not that guy that believes everybody should have a gun. There are people in our society that should not have guns, so let's just get that up right out of the way. One of the issues that I have with this red flag law, Senate Bill 83, is the fact that there's already mechanisms in place should somebody need protection. There's already mechanisms in place for folks to remove weapons from a home. So for example, if a personal protection order is signed, frankly, in my opinion, that has a little bit more weight because that controls where that person can be. This ERPO has nothing to do with that. All it does is take away guns. Conservatorship.
I just realized this is a 13-minute video, and I'm gonna watch it all the way through because I'm very interested in this guy. I agree with I think I'm agreeing a lot with what he says. Not everybody should have guns, but you know, we can't control that. Not as well as we hope so.
Is another way that somebody can have conservatorship over an individual and remove guns, knives, you know, whatever they could do harm to themselves or harm to somebody else. So there's already mechanisms in place. And let me also say this. This is a one-way push, as you may or may not have seen some of my posts before. This is not a debate. If you want to chime in with a comment or two, great. If you don't, great. But don't expect an answer. So one of the things that people aren't talking about is the fact that there's controversy over when this law actually takes effect. Does it take effect 90 days after December 31st of 2023, or does it take effect 90 days after December 31st of 2024? So regardless, it will either be a year from now or 2 years from now when this actually takes effect. So I think that's one of the issues that people need a little bit of clarification on. Now, let me walk through this line by line here, or excerpt, I should say. So on page 3 of this particular law, it spells out a definition. And definition of possession or control includes, but is not limited to, actual possession or constructive possession by which the individual has the right to control the firearm, even though the firearm is in a different location than the individual. Possession or control does not require the individual to own the firearm. So let's think about that for a second. So I have a ERPO order against me, and I have to relinquish not only the guns that are registered to me that I own, but let's say that I take care of my parents who are aging, and you know, I go check on them 4 or 5 times a week, whatever, and mom and dad have guns. Those are in my possession and control while I'm there because I know the comm to the safe, etc. So I got to turn those guns in too. So not only are we taking an individual's property that's subject of the ERPO, but this says that we need to take possession of property that doesn't even belong to that individual. I'm not sure how that makes sense. Page 6. If the respondent is an adult, the petition can be filed in this state regardless of the residency or location of any party. Okay, so I might have to drive to the UP in Gogebic County because a scorned ex-boyfriend or girlfriend decided to file this ERPO that the judge signed. How does that make sense that it can be filed in any county in the state of Michigan? I don't get that. Further on page 6, preponderance of the evidence that the respondent can reasonably be expected within the near future to intentionally or unintentionally seriously injure himself or herself. So the respondent is the person who the order is filed against. Again,
I hate these preponderance of the evidence standards for things that
would be me.
I think this is a good face. Preponderance of the evidence standards for red flag laws is awful. Should not be a thing. And I'm hoping he's going to call that out. I'm glad he's sticking up against this stupid bullshit. Let's see what he has to say for the rest of it. I am not a big fan of preponderance of the evidence for this thing.
So the judge in weighing this, the threshold is preponderance of the evidence. in legal terms, that means 51%. It's not probable cause, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, it's not any of those higher standards, it's preponderance of the evidence. So 51%, if the judge believes the petitioner, then the next thing I know, I've got a ERPO.
I think clear and convincing standard is actually lesser on the scale. That's what I was going for. Or that's what I was about to do. In most cases, different standards, preponderance of the evidence, lowest standard, clear and convincing evidence. Okay. Okay, yeah. So preponderance is the lowest. All right, my bad. I didn't know.
Being served on me. Not sure how that makes sense either. So let me move on to page 9. The court in an action under Section 5 may issue an extreme risk protection order without written or oral notice to the respondent. So I'm not even notified that I have an ERPO? Again, doesn't make much sense. Page 11. If the court issues an ERPO under this section, the court shall also determine whether the respondent must immediately surrender the respondent's firearms or surrender the firearms within a 24-hour period. If the court orders the firearms immediately surrendered, it shall also issue an anticipatory search warrant. So the courts, if they say it's immediate turnover of the weapons, they're automatically assuming there's going to be pushback because they're going to author a search warrant at the same time. So we're taking this person's property, the court's authoring a search warrant to take the respondent's party without due process. Now people will tell you, well, there is due process, there's a hearing. No, the hearing's after the fact, after the court has already said take this person's weapon, and oh, by the way, here's a search warrant. Now, the court might be nice and say, well, we'll give you 24 hours to turn in your stuff. So let me get this straight. I am such a terrible bad guy or gal that I have to have this ERPO against me, but you're going to have 24 hours to turn in your weapons. And remember, not just the weapons you own, but the ones that you have control and possession over. Do you really think during that 24-hour period, if I'm that mentally unstable, if I'm that violent, that I'm not going to be thinking about how this is going to play out? Come on. Moving on. Page 12. The restrained individual shall, within 24 hours or at the court's discretion, immediately be served with the order surrendering the firearms in the individual's possession or control. I mentioned that earlier, but there it is right there. Further on, a hearing will be held within 14 days or 5 days. Now, it depends on a couple things, whether it's a 14-day or a 5-day. This is the biggest issue. I've got a lot of issues with this law, but this is the biggest issue right here. We're taking possession of somebody's property before the person has an opportunity to defend themselves. So that's like locking somebody up in jail without an opportunity for bond or anything else. Remember, it's not a probable cause standard. It's only a preponderance of the evidence standard. That's the threshold. So this is almost like you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent.
It's a good way to put it. It's a very good way to put it. I had an argument with a good friend of mine that red flag laws is presumption of guilt. by its nature. And he argued it with me against me with it, and tried to turn the argument against me in a way that he thought would prove that it was a false equivalency. But it's like, it's a presumption of guilt. You lose your stuff with red flag laws right away. You don't get to voice an argument against it before it happens. It gets taken and then you come back to it after the fact, maybe. It's a presumption of guilt without due process.
Page 15, if you don't comply, the court's going to author a bench warrant. So, not a show cause hearing, hey, come back to court and tell me how come you're not complying with this order. They're going to issue a bench warrant. So, this, in addition to the 24-hour period, is going to put law enforcement in a terrible position because, again, this person knows that we're coming for your guns, right? This is interesting too. On page 21, the petitioner may move the court. So these orders are good for a year. The petitioner may move the court to issue, or the court on its own motion may issue one or more extensions. So the court can motion itself to file an extension to this order? I've never heard of such a thing. How does that even make sense? But Sheriff Murphy, don't worry about that. Nobody's going to lie on these things because we put a provision in there that says if somebody lies as being the petitioner, then there's criminal charges that could be filed against them too. And this is what it says on page 23. A petitioner who knowingly and intentionally makes a false statement. Well, if somebody truly believes something, whether it's true or not in our mind, how can you say that they knowingly and intentionally made an accusation if they truly believe it? If I truly believe that somebody's going to do irreparable harm to me, how can we prove that? You can't. And then I'll just say this on...
A good way to close up that gap would probably do the defamation standard. Knowingly or recklessly caused something like that. Or have knowingly had enough knowledge of the falsehood.
And lastly, on page 25, I find this interesting as well, that this information is going to be used as demographic data. Make the data used.
Okay. That's an interesting point. So they're basically just going to use that to bump up their stats on red flag arrests. I guess to be like, we have this amount of red flag arrests, and these are the kinds of people, and we stopped this much crime in this year with red flag laws. Imagine the success.
Et cetera, et cetera. Academic or policy research, including but not limited to any disproportionate or discriminatory impact of this act on members of protected classes. Okay, so if you're a violent person, if you're mentally unstable, if a judge is going to issue an ERPO, now we've got to say, well, maybe we shouldn't do that because they're a protected class. Isn't the whole idea to protect anybody? But now we're going to gather this data to show that it's disproportionate. Oh, we got a bunch of angry white men out there. Oh, white men aren't protected classes. I'm sorry. All right, I digress. Let me just say this in closing here. In 2020, there was 45,272 deaths by gun, United States. 51% of those were by suicide. Now, I didn't delve deeper to see how many were justifiable shootings, but let's just assume that half of that number is a good number. So, 20.
Sorry, something came up.
In 2020, There were 11,674 killed in drunk driving crashes.
I think the rest of this is probably just opinions, maybe. Hold on.
So why aren't we taking drunks' cars? They should never be able to drive again because they kill a bunch of people too. In 2021, there was 106,000 overdoses. 106,000 overdoses. Why don't we make laws that make it illegal to have drugs, especially hard drugs? Oh wait, we do. Here's the point. We have never, ever been able to legislate our way out of a crisis. That's not how it works. You can make all the laws in the world and people are still going to do evil things. People are still going to do bad things. And I can't think of a time, and I know that a lot of people have pointed to MSU and Oxford as reasons for the fact that this red flags laws need to be in place. I'm not intimately familiar with all the details in both of those cases, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that had this been in effect, it probably would have not had an effect on the outcome there. And I also find it interesting that one of the criteria that the judges are going to look at when deciding whether there's a ERPO authorized or not is past criminal history. So we want to build a case where somebody's got all these past crimes that they've either pled guilty to or were convicted of, but yet we just passed a whole bunch of reform for the clean slate law. So we've expunged a whole ton of criminal records out there. Kind of interesting, a little bit of double talk there, but anyways, that's it. I'm not talking anymore on this particular issue. That's how I feel. Those are the issues that I have with this particular law. There's actually more, but you get the idea. And that's why I feel it's unconstitutional. We're seizing somebody's property before there is a hearing. So thanks. God bless you. Have a great day.
That man is a prophet. Man, that was like 13 minutes. Well worth it. 14 minutes. Realistically, 14 minutes. I'm glad I sat through that. I know it was a little annoying, but, you know, sorry about that. But, hey, it's whatever. Alright, so back to the article. We've never ever been able to legislate our way out of a crisis before. That is, in fact, what he said. Laws in the world and people are still going to do evil things. The county resolution encourages the sheriff and county prosecutor to use their utmost discretion in enforcing any law contrary to constitutional rights. The measure attracted dozens of supporters at the Monday hearing or Monday meeting, many applauding the county commissioners and decrying gun laws. Joining in was former Secretary of State candidate and newly elected Michigan GOP Chair Christina Caramo. It's really going to be time for counties to stand up and defend the rights of citizens because it's clear that our government and our legislators are completely out of control, she said. Since I'm taking control of both chambers of the state legislature in January, Democrats have announced bills around the safe storage of firearms around minors, universal background checks, and sales and implementing extreme risk protection orders, and also known as red flag laws. Yeah, I'm still gay. Yeah, I'm still flaming homosexual over here. Yep. We just listened to a guy talk about how red flag laws were unconstitutional. And that guy was a sheriff. Livingston County has long taken a pro-Second Amendment stance in 2020, passing another symbolic measure affirming its support for gun rights. Duh. Applause broke out between public commenters on Monday, and when the resolution was approved, Still, it wasn't without detractors. Of course it wouldn't not be without detractors. The county has no authority to declare a law unconstitutional and it could be exposing itself to legal liability for selective prosecution if it refuses to enforce court orders, she said. Oh, well, my bad. Several residents, including Livingston County Democrat Party Chair Judy Daubenmeier, condemned the constitutional county resolution, saying her party considers it phony, irresponsible, and unconstitutional. Oh, the resolution respecting the Constitution is unconstitutional. This resolution will only make Livingston County members' families more vulnerable. It is absolutely wrong that the county lacks discretion to not enforce gun laws, Livingston Commissioner Wes Nakagiri said during the meeting, comparing the measure to Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel's refusal to enforce state 1931 abortion law. Nakagiri called provisions of the proposed red flag law onerous and said he would be voting hell yes on the resolution. Haha. Yeah, it's really fucking ironic. And the constitutional county resolution, I get the idea. Like, it's like respecting Antifa as an anti-fascist group. They claim to be anti-fascist, but they're the strongest fascist group I know. This could be seen in that way, but respecting the Second Amendment is not in the Constitution, you fucking dipshit Judy Daubenmeier. The other 8 members of the county board stood with him, all voting to okay the measure, some gesturing towards its symbolic importance. Local sheriffs and prosecutors have discretion over which laws their office enforces. The offices enforce with the resources of their office. Though the AG's office disagrees with the choice to not enforce extreme risk protection orders, URPO, okay. Michigan Attorney General Office spokesperson Danny Wimmer says in a statement, Michigan police have jurisdiction statewide if local enforcement is determined to be inadequate. Wimmer said. The argument that red flag laws are unconstitutional isn't based in law. The highest threshold of civil court standards requiring clear and convincing evidence needed before an extreme risk protection order would be issued, Wimmer said. Adding similar laws have withstood constitutional scrutiny and had been upheld in courts by the courts in the states. The assertion to the contrary from elected officials in Livingston County are based not on law but by personal whims of what they want to support for either personal or political reasons, Wimmer said. At the Monday meeting, Livingston leaders framed their actions as the start of a movement. We're not here as an individual entity that will make a big change, County Board Chair Dave Damas said. We're here as an individual entity that will start something because this is the beginning. I love separations of power. All these rulings are pre-Bruin. Yeah, I'm willing to bet. I was thinking, maybe all these laws are before the gun rights restoration, or the partial gun rights restoration from the Supreme Court, like last year. Oh, fuck. Okay. Judy Daubenmeier. Judy Dobbin Meyer. Michigan Dems were joined by Livingston Dems Chairman At what point did Michigan candidates stop appearing with? I want to lambast this bitch so much. The board is no longer a luxury. The broadband is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. Whatever. Livingston is based. I love it. They're great. Lambast the lambastards. I will later. I don't want to eat up time that I could be using covering articles and streaming. Hey, give me just a little bit. I want to get up and walk around and stretch. So I'll be right back. I have no music that'll fill in the time. But I will be right back. So yeah. Yeah, Chief Justice Roberts declines to testify at Senate Supreme Court ethics hearing. All fun and shit. All fun here. I'll be right back. I didn't leave. I didn't get up. Is this the nation of urination? No, it wasn't. I was just, stretching in the chair, laying back. I got a layback chair. He peed his pants like a real man. Oh. No, a real man pees on the ground. Without discretion, without care, without concern. A real man urinates on the ground to mark his territory like an animal. The invitation from Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin was extended after Justice Clarence Thomas came under scrutiny after accepting undisclosed gifts. Chief Justice John Roberts on Tuesday declined an invitation from high-ranking Democrat senators to testify at a congressional hearing on the ethics rules for members of the Supreme Court. In a letter, I do that, but I also lift my leg when I do it. Yeah. In a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, Roberts suggested that his participation could pose a threat to judicial independence. Testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee by the Chief Justices of the United States is exceedingly rare, as one might expect in light of separation of powers concerning the importance of preserving judicial independence. I should be drinking that within the next, 5 minutes because it'll get colder and colder. Separation of powers, it's important for preserving judicial independence. Roberts included in his letter statements of ethics principles and practices to which all of the current members of the Supreme Court subscribe. Durbin had requested Roberts' participation or the participation of a justice of his choosing at a public hearing regarding the ethical rules of the governor that govern the justice of the Supreme Court and potential reforms of those rules, scheduled for May 2nd. I love that he fucking declined this. We're accusing you of misconduct. You gotta show up to talk. How about nah? How about nah? How about I don't? How about you fuck right off? I think it's impertinent to show up so you can fuck right off, you little bitch. God, I love this court. All right. In his invitation, Durbin cited ample precedent for sitting justice's testimony, citing testimony in October 2011 from Justice Stephen Breyer and Antonin Scalia, which included robust exchanges about the court's approach to ethical ethics matters. A ProPublica report this month describes how GOP megadonor and billionaire Harlan Crow provided trips and gifts to Justice Clarence Thomas, and that Thomas did not disclose. God, fuck. Can I have a megadonor billionaire friend, Harlan Crow, visit my stream? Is he on Twitter? Harlan Crow. I wouldn't even know who he was even if I saw him. Hey, Harlan Crow, have you ever watched this shit on Rumble? Please give me a super chat, a Rumble rant. Like two $500 ones. That'd be great. You'd make my whole fucking week, man. Ah, fuck. I gotta get out of poor people habits of wanting money. After declining to Republica disclosed after Roberts declined to testify, Durbin referred to Thomas while saying lawmakers should set an enforceable code of ethics for the Supreme Court. I'm surprised that the Chief Justice's recounting of existing legal standard of ethics suggests current law is adequate and ignores the obvious. The actions of one justice, including the trips on yachts and private jets, were not reported to the public. The same justice failed to disclose the sale of property that he partly owned to a party with interest before the court. He did not have interest before the court. It is time for Congress to accept its responsibility to establish an enforceable code of ethics for the Supreme Court, the only agency of our government without it. I will accept that they do not have any code of ethics. It's a good time, to suggest just maybe a mild suggestion. Creating a constitutional amendment that limits their powers in some way, shape, or form, so we don't have a continuation of the disaster that was Marbury versus Madison. That's a fancy idea. In addition to seeking his testimony, Democrats on Judiciary Committee have called on Roberts to investigate Thomas's undisclosed gifts. Thomas referred to Crow and his wife, Kathy, as dearest friends in a statement this month, and said that earlier in the Supreme Court tenure, he had been advised that personal hospitality from close friends who did not have business before the courts was not reportable. I've endeavored to follow that counsel throughout my tenure and have always sought to comply with disclosure guidelines, Thomas said in statements. On Monday, Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden, Democrat from Orr, launched a separate inquiry by asking Crow to provide a complete account of any trips, gifts, and payments he has made to Thomas over the years. I would just say no. Allegations against Thomas were referred last week to the Judicial Conference of the United States Committee that reviews financial disclosures in response to concerns raised by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat from Rhode Island, and Representative Hank Johnson, a Democrat from Georgia. No disclosures. Marbury versus Iverson? Well, Marbury versus Madison is where the principles of judicial review and legal precedents come from. Without Madison, judicial review never exists. All right, I'm almost done with the show. Oh yeah, before we get to the next topic, let me go to this topic. The Dragon's Treasure. The Dragon's Treasure is a haven for anime and tea lovers, and I have a deal for you. Code Layman at checkout for Dragon's Treasure will get you 10% off of all purchases. All the tea that you see right here, the tea products, tea ware, the strainer, and the kettle. And it also includes merchandise like the shirt that he has right here. You can get all of this, any of this, for 10% off with Code Layman's. So in Code Layman, so enjoy some good tea and some savings at the same time. You can find a link to the shop and the code in the description down below. Yes. A short, succinct reading. NBA point guard Marbury versus NBA. I'll look that up later, I will say. Whistleblower to tell House that U.S. government is middleman in multi-billion-dollar migrant child trafficking op. Ruh-roh. Government? God damn it. House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on Wednesday will feature... Alright, did I miss this heading? Whistleblower and child migrant trafficking comes as Biden admin faces scrutiny over handling of forced labor. Oh? House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on Wednesday will feature testimony from whistleblower who will warn lawmakers that the United States has become the middleman in a multi-billion-dollar middle migrant child trafficking operation at the border. The hearing, the Biden border crisis exploitation of unaccompanied alien children, will be held by the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, Integrity, Security, and Enforcement, and will examine the surge in unaccompanied children, UACs, at the southern border. According to Customs and Border Protection statistics, the number of UACs who arrive at the border has swelled from 39 in the fiscal year of 2020 to more than 146,000 in the fiscal year of 2022 or 2021, and 152,000 in fiscal year 2022. So far in the fiscal year 2023, they have been more than 70,000 encounters of unaccompanied children. When children migrants are encountered at the border, they are transferred into custody of Health and Human Services, and then united with a sponsor, typically a parent or family member already in the United States. But the Biden administration has been rocked by a number of reports that officials have been unable to make contact with more than 85,000 child migrants. And more recently, administration officials reportedly ignore signs of explosive growth in child labor. A number have been forced into indentured servitude to pay back smugglers and have worked in dire conditions. The Wednesday hearing will hear from 3 witnesses: Tara Lee Rodas, a HHS whistleblower formerly with an Inspector General's office; Sheehan Rodriguez, founder and president of Alliance for Safe Texas; and Jessica Vaughn, a director of policy studies at the Center of Immigration Studies. Rodas will warn of a problem that predates the administration but has increased significantly during the recent migrant crisis, according to a copy of her written testimony obtained by Fox News Digital. Today, children will work overnight shifts at slaughterhouses, factories, restaurants to pay their debts to smugglers and traffickers. Today, children will be sold for sex. She will say. Today, children will call hotline to report that they're being abused, neglected, and trafficked for nearly a decade. Unaccompanied children have been suffering in the shadows. Don't have to look at Marbury versus Everson. They may not even play. They might not ever played against each other. Was that an NBA joke? Was that a... You said NBA point guard. Wait, you were making a basketball joke? That went over my head. Sorry, I should have appreciated that. I'm sorry. It wasn't stupid. I appreciated it. Any joke's a good joke. Even, especially dad jokes. Rodas will talk about her volunteering at an emergency intake site in California to help with HHS Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, identify sponsors for minors who have come across the border. I thought I was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, I discovered that children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with being recruited in their home country, smuggled to the U.S. border, and ends with ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of the transnational criminal organizations. Some sponsors view children as commodities and assets to be used for earning income. This is why we are witnessing an explosion of labor trafficking, Rodas' written remark shows. Whether intentional or not, it can be argued that the U.S. government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation run by bad actors seeking to profit off the lives of children. Rodriguez of the Alliance for Safe Texas will share her experience of encountering unaccompanied children at a border, including teenage boys whom she said told her that cartel cooperatives transported children through Mexico and held them at a warehouse with armed guards. She'll also call for investigation of federal agencies responsible and for the ending of release migrants to sponsors. We can no longer turn a blind eye and pretend this isn't happening. Congress has the power to stop this, which is why I'm calling on you to do the right thing, or do what is right, her testimony says. I should close that. Vaughn will call for congressional action, including the ending of legal loopholes that she says force the government to operate as a massive catch and release program for illegally arriving alien children. They have been carelessly funneled through the custody of U.S. government agencies and contractors and held off to very light vetting sponsors, who are usually also here illegally in our communities without regard to the safety and well-being. She will say there is no question that the system for processing minors who are crossing illegally is dysfunctional and has been for some time and needs to be fixed. Last month, HHS Secretary Javier Becerra pushed back on the agency being unable to contact 85,000 children, and also said HHS authorities are limited by Congress. I've never heard that number of 800 or 85,000, and I don't know where it comes from. And so I would say it doesn't sound at all to be realistic. And what we do is to try and follow up as best we can with these kids, he said. Congress has given us certain authorities. Our authorities end when we have found a suitable sponsor to place a child with. We try to do some follow-up, but neither the child nor the sponsor is actually obligated to follow up with us, he said. Meanwhile, domestic policy advisor Susan Rice, who left her role this week, responded to the Times that her team was shown evidence of a growing migrant child labor crisis. We were never informed of any kind of systemic problem with child labor or migrant child labor, she said. And that was by Adam Shaw, is a political reporter for Fox News Digital. Ooh. Oh shit! Oh yeah, I should probably take a break from Fox News and cover this. This is something I wanted to cover. Arizona, I'm disgusted. Arizona school voucher handbook approved despite parents of protest. The mild problem with a representative constitutional republic. Some representatives may not actually abide by the people sometimes. Arizona's first-in-the-nation universal school voucher program is off to rocky starts under Republican school superintendent Tom Horn. The state of... hold on. Everything seems like it's crashing. The State Board of Education on Monday voted 6-2 to approve the new Empowerment Scholarship Account Handbook for parents over objections of many parents. The handbook is supposed to help. God damn it. Just trying to scroll down. I'm disgusted, said Andrea McIntosh of Flagstaff, an ESA parent who sat through the 3-hour discussion. It's not okay, and it's going to end up doing more harm to our students that are on ESA, as well as every taxpayer in Arizona. Board members are also rebuked Horn's school voucher director for failing to... Oh, fuck. for failing to give them ample notice of significant policy change in the handbook. We're not focusing on what has been done for the 10 year. We're not focusing on what has been done for 10 years, and we're not focusing on what's best for ESA parents, said Jenny Clark, a school voucher advocate appointed to the board by former Governor Doug Ducey. These ads are fucking shit up. Fuck. Clark was one of the two no votes on the handbook. The last minute policy change had to do with whether school voucher dollars could be used in tandem with another school choice funding tool. State tax credit for private school tuition, or state tax, yeah, that's the other tool. The law says two funding sources cannot be used concurrently. In the past, that was interpreted to mean that vouchers could be used for one semester tuition and tax credit for the next. Christine Accurso, executive director of the ESA program, told the board, based on her lawyer's opinion, parents should stick to one funding source for a full school year. Clark said, I hate these ads. They're jumping me up and down everywhere. Clark said, via email after the meeting, that under Board of Education rules, substantive changes to the handbooks are limited to once every 3 years for the sake of consistency. I believe this change, among others, constituted substantive change to the handbook, Clark said. And the new 108-page handbook, a kind of rule of road for ESA parents, is the first update since Arizona expanded its school voucher program last year in the final month of Ducey's term in office. All 1.1 million Arizona students are now eligible for $7,000 a year or more in taxpayer-paid tuition to attend private or religious schools. Before the expansion, Before the expansion, there were about 12,000 school voucher recipients at the end. The program was limited to the families with special education students and foster children. What the fuck is happening? Before the expansion, there were about 12 school vouchers, military families, and others. Today, 53,000 students receive vouchers according to the State Department of Education. The cost of the program to the state this year is estimated at $300 million to $500 million, but the money was never budgeted. Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs, a voucher opponent, has warned that ESA program could bankrupt the state. Among the concerns aired at the Board of Education meeting, parents reporting persistent problems paying or getting reimbursed for education-related expenses, a list of allowable items for spending that isn't clear, tutors paid with vouchers need only a high school education. It's not a perfect document. I too have a very strong concern, said Dr. Daniel Kaur, board president and president of Arizona Western College in Yuma. McCord added that the document was a work in progress. He voted to approve it. Accurso defended her work in an interview after the board vote. We are administering this program according to the rules, according to the law, and according to the handbook. This wasn't done in the past. She said, echoing Horn's dismissal of ESA management under his predecessor, Democrat Superintendent Kathy Hoffman. Before running the voucher program, Akursoa was a widely known ESA advocate. She worked as an office manager for a small medical practice. Now she's responsible for getting hundreds of millions out the door to parents under a law that provides little accountability. Is she up to the job? I'm the administrator, she said. I'm up to the job. I had so much trouble reading that. I'm sorry about that. Let's see here. I'm probably going to end up the show pretty soon. Even if I kind of want to do like a 3-hour stream, but I don't at the same time. So let's talk about Michigan again. Michigan School District faces lawsuit after forcing students to remove Let's Go Brandon sweatshirts. Criticism of the president is core political speech protected by the First Amendment, attorney. Said by an attorney. This might not even be a long story. Two students who were prohibited from wearing clothing that featured a phrase critical of President Joe Biden have filed a lawsuit against their Michigan school district. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, self-described as a nonpartisan nonprofit organization dedicated to defending and sustaining the individual rights of all Americans to free speech and free thought, are representing the Tri-County middle school students who sued the school district today for viewpoint discrimination after they were forced to remove sweatshirts they wore to school that feature the phrase "Let's Go Brandon" in February 2022. An assistant principal and teacher ordered the boys to remove the sweatshirts for allegedly breaking dress code, which allowed other students to don other political apparel like gay pride-themed hoodies, according to FIRE. The district and its employees, according to the complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Michigan, Southern Division, are censoring students who are trying to express support for former President Donald Trump or opposition to President Joe Biden. The lawsuit from FIRE First for the free speech group on behalf of K-12 students seeks a court order blocking the school district's viewpoint discrimination ban on Let's Go Brandon apparel and provision of its dress code banning students from wearing clothing which calls undue attention to the student, according to the group. Calls undue attention. Fuck that. Criticism of the president is core political speech protected by the First Amendment, said FIRE attorney Connor Fitzpatrick. While there is a Biden sticker, Let's Go Brandon sweatshirt, or gay pride t-shirt, schools can't pick and choose which political beliefs students can express. FIRE said the incident involved the two students is part of a pattern of political favoritism by school districts that is wrongly relying on policy that prohibits profane clothing to censor this particular message. When the school district relaxed the dress code for field day, a school administrator ordered a student to stop wearing a Trump flag as a cape, but permitted other students to wear gay pride flags in the same manner, the group said in a press release announcing the lawsuit. The slogan exists as a way to express an anti-Biden message without using profanity, Fitzpatrick said. A school district cannot censor speech just because it might cause someone to think about a swear word. FIRE attorney Harrison Rosenthal insisted that the students who were forced to remove the sweatshirts by the school should be encouraged to share their political beliefs. These students should not only be allowed to express their political beliefs, but should be encouraged to do so. American students must be free to express their constitutional rights, not just learn about them. Tri-County Area School District Superintendent Alan Cummings told Fox News Digital the school district was made aware of the complaint Tuesday morning but declined to comment on pending litigation or matters that involve students of district due to federal privacy laws and board policy. Oh, how quaint of them to rely on privacy laws when it favors them. The Let's Go Brandon catchphrase, which has been used by American conservatives to criticize Biden originated in October 2021. The humorous phrase originally stemmed from a NASCAR interview as a G-rated substitute for "fuck Joe Biden" chants that were popular during COVID-19 pandemics that explicitly saying was recited at sporting events across the country in defiance of the president's coronavirus mandates. I will be watching this intently. Fire lawsuit against Michigan. School. Court case. I need a good source for finding cases. I want to be able to see this one. This is a lawsuit, so I hopefully should be able to find it. How long is this document? It's not very long. I can go through it. Basically. Fauci absolves himself of responsibility for lockdowns in testy interview. Show me a school that I shut down. Dr. Fauci said data evidence frequently changed as pandemic raged. Yeah, you don't say. Dr. Fauci struck a defensive tone during a recent interview in which he reflected on his and government's response to COVID-19 pandemic, admitting that mistakes were made despite his best efforts. I doubt they were his best efforts. Show me a school I shut down. And show me a factory that I shut down. I don't have a Fauci voice. I never did, Fauci said when asked about the consequences of heavy-handed public health policies in the New York Times interview published yesterday. I gave a public health recommendation that echoed the CDC's recommendation, and people made a decision based on that. But I never criticized the people who made the decision one way or another. The response was just one of several in which Fauci defended his guidance during the pandemic, pushing back against critics who have accused him of being wrong about everything from... I don't know if this is the current CDC, and I will say this, guess to fucking the bitches at YouTube. I'm not providing medical advice. This is a statement of an opinion of an article I'm reading to share for people to see. That Fauci was wrong about everything from masks to how effective the vaccines would be. This is not medical advice, YouTube. This is an article I'm reading. I'm not saying this myself. Well, Fauci, who recently retired from his post as director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, said public health officials, were sometimes wrong. He argued that the ever-changing nature of the evidence meant it was nearly impossible to get everything right. If this is Fauci's defense, this should also be President Trump's defense. People accuse former President Trump of being inadequate during the COVID pandemic. Communication in pandemics is difficult under the best of circumstances, Fauci said. What has been so troubling to me is that as health officials, when you're dealing with a moving target, the evidence is evolving and new data becomes available. But you get so many different people with their own set of data and that are not real data, but even in a perfect world, it would not be easy. Who says Fauci even had perfect data? Or real data? He just had the data that he relied on. That doesn't mean it's real data. One of the most controversial issues Fauci confronted as the face of the pandemic response was the mask mandates that eventually spread across the nation. Although Fauci had initially told Americans masking was unnecessary, he would later become a vocal supporter of the benefits of wearing face masks. When asked if his change of tune on masks and the divisive nature of the mandates may have intensified oppositions to the vaccine later, Fauci agreed that anything that intensified the culture war was just made things worse. When it came to masking, I don't know, Fauci said, but I do know that the culture wars have been really rough or really, really tough from public health standpoints. Ultimately, an epidemiologist sees it as an epidemiological phenomenon. An economist sees it from an economic standpoint, and I see it from somebody in bed dying. The retired infectious disease expert noted that policies meant to spread use of the vaccine may have backfired as many across the country were already becoming skeptical of public health guidance. I think almost paradoxically, you had people who were on the fence about getting vaccinated thinking, why are they forcing me to do this? Fauci said. And that sometimes beautiful independent streak in our country becomes counterproductive. Yeah, why would you be forced to get a vaccine anyway? Regardless of the skepticism and independence. You wouldn't need to be forced to get something beneficial to you. It would just be naturally a draw. If the vaccines were that good, it should have been a natural draw for people. He also defended his views on the origins of the pandemic, arguing he was open to the idea that virus could have been leaked from the Chinese lab, despite believing more evidence existing to support the notion that the virus originated from a Wuhan market. I feel that until you have a definitive proof of one or another, it is essential to have an open mind, Fauci said, but I want to highlight the difference between possible and probable. If you look at what is possible, I absolutely keep an open mind until we get definitive proof of one versus the other. Fauci also noted the limitations that scientists have when confronting a pandemic, arguing that future leaders should learn lessons from the country's response to COVID-19, that public health officials need to stay vigilant ahead of the next pandemic. We don't need an infinite budget, we just need a sustained commitment to science and public health, Fauci said. The next pandemic may be 25 years from now, it could be 50 years from now. Remember that the last transforming pandemic was 1918. We had pandemics in 1957, 1968, and 2009, but nobody hardly even noticed them. Well, yeah. I think that's the show. I think that's all I want to do. Texas tweaked its New Texas incentivized program tweaked as it advanced at Tech Capital. Okay, I'm not covering this. At least I don't think. It's short. New Texas Incentives Program tweaked as it advances to Capital. Replacement for Chapter 313. Tax breaks ahead of Full House with new name. The bill that would create a new statewide property tax incentive program for businesses took another step forward April 24th, gaining a nod of approval from the Texas House Committee on Ways and Means. They sent the high-profile item to the full House of Representatives with about a month remaining in the legislative session. House Bill 5, also known as the Texas Jobs and Security Act, would reintroduce elements of the controversial Chapter 313 program that died at the end of 2022 after helping to bring companies such as Tesla Incorporated and Samsung Electronics Corporation to the state. The 313 program yielded school tax breaks for big expanding businesses. The bill is sponsored by Todd Hunter, a Corpus Christi Republican who has said the bill is needed to attract businesses to the state. Meanwhile, opponents decry replacing a program that was defeated by bipartisan opposition during the last Texas legislature. Among the latest iterations to the proposed legislation, a session priority for many economic development leaders, the incentive program would move from state tax code to state government code, giving it the new name of Chapter 403, said Representative Hugh Shine, a Temple Republican and co-author of the bill. I'm not really feeling this. I thought it wasn't going to be that long. But yeah, Texas is seeking to bring new businesses to Texas. As always. Yeah. This will be my next article I cover. My curiosity has been piqued and I cannot wait a little bit longer, so I will go to camera view. Being as it's a day off, I have plenty. Outside of that, just gonna leave that there. Huh. Well then. All right, so that's the show. Thank you for coming, everybody. Before I wrap up, I will do this one last time. With code Layman at Dragon's Treasure, you can get 10% off of all purchases, including every teaware that you see here. Utility, Velocity Maker, this is the thing that I've got. The tea itself, so white tea, green tea, black tea, oolong, and herbals. As well as the merchandise, which is a shirt. He's really got to step up his merchandise game, though. Remember, you can get all the tea that you want from the Dragon's Treasure. It's very good tea. It's what I've been drinking. You see me drinking it every stream. There's not a stream where I'm not drinking it. And I drink it basically every day. It helps keep me a little sustained during the day when I have low energy. But aside from that, it's just a great product. I highly recommend it. So remember, you can find the link in the description for the Dragon's Treasure. Use code Layman and get 10% off of your purchase. I highly recommend it. With that, I'm done with the stream. I've luckily been going for like 2 hours, 44 minutes. I'm glad I was able to get that much content out of today. Thank you, Southern Anarchists, for showing me about that Minnesota thing. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming to watch the stream. If you liked everything, please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble. Follow my locals and Twitter. My locals account is updated to be more accurate now at legallayman.locals.com and not laymanlaw.locals.com, which was not accurate. I appreciate all the support, all the comments. It means so much to me that you guys will be willing to sit down and watch me talk about, or listen to me talk about the stupid shit that I talk about. It means so much that I've got 27 followers, which doesn't seem like a lot to so many people, but to me, it's enough now, and hopefully it'll continue to grow. I got like 46 on YouTube, which is pleasant for me to know that I've got that many people that will listen to me. With that, no stream tomorrow, and I don't think I'll stream on Sunday, because I think that's my brother's day off, and I don't want to take it up. So yeah, thank you for everyone that came, everybody that's watching, everyone that's going to watch on the replay. It means so much to me, and I greatly appreciate the support. I plan on posting videos pretty soon. Those days off that I have, I'll be making videos, or working to make videos of a shorter form version of the content that I've posted or made right now. And if you go to locals, which is a way to support me, it's like Patreon but better. I'm gonna be posting some covers of songs because I want to sing and I want to express that. So yeah, follow on locals, Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube, all linked in the description below. On both, you can find the Rumble on the YouTube side, and you can find the YouTube on the Rumble side. Everything links to itself. So yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for anybody who will watch. It means so much. And I will see you in the next stream.